Hello, everybody. This is Sandi Boucher, Mishko Pognan Quena Dishnakas Mungdodem. I'm Red Thunderbolt Woman of the Loon Clan and a proud member of Seine River First Nation in Northern Ontario. And I'm here today with my weekly check-in that I've called Surviving Isolation. Today, and once again, I am recording this as the podcast first, and then I release the video form later in the day. We are on number 9, episode 9. I've been doing this for 9 weeks, and to think back, I started doing this because I was absolutely freaked. I was just freaked. I'll own that. I was freaked about the news stories. I was freaked about how many people were being touched and lost to COVID-19 in those early days when we had no idea what had just hit us. The fact that I was personally now living in a state of emergency. I mean, I'm not the only one on the planet, obviously. A lot of people have gone through that. I just never thought I would. And then personally, as a motivational speaker whose entire revenue structure was built on live in-person gatherings, large group events, and to watch that be canceled. And don't get me wrong, that was a very great decision. That was a wise decision. And I'm actually nervous about that reopening, and we'll talk about that later in the episode. But yeah, I watched my entire revenue stream dry up within like 48 hours. So creating this podcast, and I knew nothing about podcasts, but I knew that a segment of my followers, people that I had met in seminar, were podcast fans. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to start doing this. I'm going to reach out, if nothing else, to touch base with all of those people I wish I could meet and hug and see again, that I could do it in podcast form, and then eventually I added in the video format as well. So that's why I'm here. And as usual, we have a few things we touch base on. First, the statistics. March 11th is when the World Health Organization, WHO, as they're known, declared the pandemic. And that is now 65 days ago. Are you starting to wonder how long this is going to last yet? I know I am. In Ontario, where I live, the state of emergency was declared on March 17th, and it's totally dependent on where you live if you're in a state of emergency when it was declared. But in Ontario, it was March 17th, which is 59 days ago. And for me personally, because I had done so much traveling and been around so many people, just for the protection of my loved ones, I went into self-isolation on March 14th, and that is 62 days ago. And I think I've left the yard maybe 8-9 times now, the absolute max. That's the statistics. Those can be either meh, you're used to it now, or incredibly scary. So first off, mental health check-in. How are you doing? Again, I welcome your emails. Sandi at sandiboucher.com. Just send me an email. I would love to hear from you. And also, if you haven't done it yet, head over to sandiboucher.com. Sign up to be on my mailing list, because every Monday I send out what I've called the Pick You Up email. And I have fun putting that email together, almost as fun as the recipients have receiving that email, because all it is not marketing, it is not promotion, it is this week's collection of 10 COVID-19 memes just to help us laugh at what in some cases just seems like absolute insanity, and laughter is the best medicine for so many things. So make sure to head over to sandiboucher.com and sign up for that. Now, I mentioned that very first podcast because if you go back and listen to it, I think it's pretty obvious the panic in my voice. It was like a cry for help. It was oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I'm falling back on what is comfy for me. And that's talking to an audience, even though I didn't have an audience. It was just, I needed to find something to help me get through it. But now after 9 weeks, and this is just my personal opinion, but I think I'm crushing it. I am rocking this. And now, don't get me wrong, huge disclaimer here. I have not been touched personally, or my family has not been touched personally by COVID-19. I realize how fortunate I am. For me, it's just an inconvenience. So let's be crystal clear on that. There are so many people that are facing so much more, or have faced so much more in this time, and my heart and prayers go out to them. For me, it was just missing my friends, missing my family, and trying to figure out what to do with my business. And I guess for me, I also had an advantage. And if someone had asked me earlier in my life if I thought of this as an advantage, I would have said they were nuts in the head. But the reality is that for me personally, my life has blown apart several times. My normal got destroyed, and suddenly I was left standing there trying to figure out a new normal. For those of you who follow my career, I'm a 10-year domestic abuse survivor. I know exactly what it's like to have what you thought was going to be a normal day suddenly turn into something that absolutely wasn't normal and changed everything after it. So been there, done that. I've had that experience. I've lost jobs where, I got fired from a job at one point in my life and never had that happen before. So suddenly I went from employed to not. And how am I going to pay the bills? And what am I going to do? And how am I going to tell my kids? And what are we going to do? And all of that was, again, an experience I could call on to make it through this pandemic. I have lost loved ones. I said goodbye to my father when I was 17. I said goodbye to my mother in 2005. I even lost my eldest daughter to SIDS. She was only 2 months old and I was only 20. So I know what it's like to have life blown apart, and I wouldn't wish those experiences on anyone, but I'd be willing to bet that quite a few people listening to this have had similar experiences. You've had your life blown apart before. You've had to adjust to change. And I think you know from experience that wishing that things were the way they used to be doesn't help. It's kind of like wishing you could get back with that ex-boyfriend who it's not going to happen. And it's just a waste of your time and you're totally depressing yourself. And truth be told, when you think about it, he wasn't that great of a boyfriend anyways. There were issues and challenges that you just don't want to remember right now. So I called on those memories to remind myself that I can do this, that I've adjusted to a new normal before, and that has truly worked for me. And I share that with you today because maybe, just maybe, it could work for you too. Now, what has been working for me? Well, I'm in the process of still up to my neck in revamping my business. So as I mentioned, I was only doing online seminars before, and that has been problematic for quite a few years for a number of reasons. For one, it meant I was only earning revenue when I was in the room. If I wasn't out doing seminars, I wasn't making money, which meant I was working all the time, and if anything happened to me, God forbid, then my revenue stream was in jeopardy. The second thing is, even though I love doing my seminars and I love the communities that I get to travel to, there was a whole bunch of people that couldn't attend my seminars. And that's for one particular reason. Most of my events were closed events, which meant a community hired me to speak to their members only. or an agency hired me to speak to their clients only. So if you were a member of the general public, if you were one of my friends, followers, or fans who loved my books or loved my blog posts every morning, you never had the chance to come to one of my seminars. And a lot of people shared over the years that they wish they could. What I'm doing now is moving 9 of my most popular seminars. I'm creating a video course version of those seminars. So basically you get a video and you get a handout with it, the same exercise you would have done with me in seminar, but you now get to do it in the comfort of your own home. And considering a lot of my seminars are incredibly personal and it's about personal growth and personal reflection, I'm actually really embracing the video course format now. Anyone who does seminars, live seminars, you know one of the biggest challenges is you give the group some kind of assignment to do, to have a conversation with their group members about something, and often you have to cut off that conversation to make sure that you can fit in the entire agenda. And that goes against my teachings because that conversation should have been allowed to continue. One of the things I'm loving the most about this video course format is when someone is taking the seminar online in the future, they'll be able to take as long as they want. If they don't understand something, they'll be able to go back and rewatch it. They'll be able to share it with a family member and do the exercise with them. So not only am I reaching people I've never been able to reach before, but it's in a way that honors my teaching so incredibly well. And of course, once this is over and we figure out a way to safely do group events again, of course I'm going back to doing live events. I need to see my peeps. But I will still, at that point, still have the online versions as well. So it's just a double offering. And it means I get to stay home every now and then, enjoy a day with my grandkids, and still be earning revenue. So I'm actually going to come out of this time period with a stronger business structure than I had before. And that's why I said I'm crushing it, because I don't think I'm one of the fortunate ones, and I know that. There's so many businesses struggling out there, so many families, so many people, and for those of you who are worried about me, don't worry, I am just fine. Now, one of the biggest revelations, and I don't know if you do this, but just in the course of my life, every now and then I've heard them referred to as aha moments, to Oprah moments, because she was aha, you know, those revelations that you have. And I had a huge one this week delivered to me by a friend. We were talking, and he mentioned that he was surviving this time just by focusing on enjoying his life. And that was his goal. Every single day he had things to do, but his primary focus was making sure he enjoyed his life. And he asked me if I agreed, if I was doing the same. I gotta admit that stopped me dead in my tracks, because anyone who knows me knows that for years I have shared and couldn't keep it to myself just how much I love my career, and I absolutely do. But I didn't love my life. And those in my inner circle knew I actually used to dread my evenings because I didn't want to do any more work. My brain was fried, but I had nothing to do and nothing to look forward to. And I was basically killing time until I could go to bed and go back to work, because my work was such a source of joy for me. When he made that comment, I was like, holy moly's. Yes, enjoying my career is amazing, but I need to be enjoying all of my life. And that has become my focus, I'm proud to say. And I am truly enjoying it. I am enjoying listening to some righteous tunes in the evening. Last night I caught myself dancing, just had to get up and do a little 4 or 5 songs back to back. If my neighbors saw me, I hope you enjoyed the show, because I was really enjoying myself, enjoying reading all of those books I said I was going to get to. I'm actually now getting to, and enjoying chatting with friends when they call, when they text, when they message, stopping and making the time for them, and just truly cherishing my relationships in a way that I can honestly say I just didn't do in the past. So again, I'm really, really enjoying my life for the first time. And I think I needed to do that alone. I live alone, and I think I needed to do it for myself first, so then I can carry it to the other people in my life. So definitely making the best of this. Now, every episode of Surviving Isolation, we do what's working, what's not working. Well, what's not working? Right over there, my flip and weight scale. We're not talking right now. We had a disagreement. It said something to me that it had no right to say to me, and really not impressed. So, yeah, that's been a struggle for a couple weeks. I know I'm not the only one, but this isn't a mulligan. We don't get a do-over, and I know I want to come out of this healthy. So, and not dealing with health consequences because of this time period. So that's something I really need to get on top of. The last couple days have been good. The warmer weather is definitely helping. So, you know, when it's cold, you just want to comfort food and hibernate, and summertime, the fresh air, I just want to get out more. So that's absolutely helping. Like everybody else out there, missing the daylights out of my family. I'm a grandma, and missing the daylights out of my grandchildren. My son-in-law dropped off a gift for me on Mother's Day and stayed, you know, the socially safe distance away, but in the car was my granddaughter, and he said it was okay. I got to go out and I got to talk to her. Of course, she stayed in the car and I stayed a safe distance away, but we got to laugh and I got to see her. And I can honestly say when I got back into the condo, I bawled my flippin' eyes out just because I miss her so much. But she's safe, and that's the most important part. No matter how long this goes on, I will do whatever I have to do to keep my grandchildren and my children safe. And that's just non-negotiable. So, and the other one I am missing the daylights out of is my assistant. We have a blast when we work together. We are always laughing. So I can't wait until she can come back. I guess what I'm saying is what I've been seeing in so many articles, so many conversations, so many posts is pivot. Pivot, 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 like the basketball player. Plant one foot and pivot. Do what you got to do. And that's what I've been doing, that focusing on the things I can do, finding new ways to do things that I can't do, and just pivoting. Complaining. I'm my mother's daughter, and my mother would be the first to say to me, fix it or be quiet, because whining doesn't help. And I don't do whining. I can't handle whining. Talk to my kids about that. Even as children, I will give you anything, just please don't whine at me. So I'm the fix it type, and fixing it is fixing my environment and my reality so that I can help others fix theirs. You got to put the mask on first, right? The airplane scenario, right? Put the air mask on before you help someone else. So really, this is my chance to get this right, to enjoy my life, to build healthier structures, to build a business that allows me to enjoy my life, so that no matter when this ends, I will be in a better place to enjoy my life. So that's, and pivoting is all encompassing, whether it's my business, whether it's my mood. If I get into one of those funky moods, of course I'm going to cry my tears, and I'm going to own that. That's a traditional thing, but I'm not staying there, because it doesn't help me when it's a negative thought process, or I've God forbid I get in a conversation with someone that's incredibly negative. I just can't afford that right now. And I don't do it from a place of judgment. I do it from a place of protection. I can't take on more right now. I'm focusing on what I can do. And if you want to be all negative Nelly, you have that right, but do it over there because there's no room here. I believe we got this. And if you don't, and that's totally okay, if you don't, one, be honest about it, and two, don't face it alone. Reach out. Just because you can't have someone in the room with you doesn't mean you can't call, doesn't mean you can't FaceTime, doesn't mean you can't Zoom meeting, doesn't mean you can't telephone, whatever the case may be. Reach out. I love that I have so many people that check on me on a regular basis, and I have never valued the human voice more. Hearing the sound of another human's voice is just an absolute joy for me. And to those of you who have called, thank you so much. To those of you who have emailed, thank you for staying in touch. I love every single one of you. So, and that brings me to something I touched on earlier. Here in Ontario, and I believe federally as well, restrictions are starting to loosen, and there's a couple more businesses that can open up now with serious restrictions, and private campgrounds, you can go in there to set up now, and parks are open for day use, and all of that is absolutely amazing. Unless you forget the reality of this situation, and that's what makes me nervous. I am all for, if you and your family have the ability to go out and get to the park and get to the water, all the power to you. But if you're going to pretend that everything's hunky-dory and get together with 20 of your friends, that's not okay, because that's going to put us all back into intense lockdown. Social distancing, still staying with your core of people, making sure to wash your hands. I think the fire restriction is still on, so no campfires. You just be careful. You can't be, as much as you miss your friends, you can't be going up to them and hugging them. And if I can survive not hugging my granddaughter, you can survive not hugging your friend. If you want to have a few adult beverages or some adult enjoyment, go right ahead, but do it safely, and don't get yourself in a condition where you're forgetting what safe is. So please, please, please keep that in mind. Let's be smart about this so that we're not talking about surviving isolation anymore. That would be my message for this week. So I guess, scale of 1 to 10, how am I surviving isolation? This was an incredibly good week. So I'm up there an 8 or 9. And there's been weeks that I wasn't, and that's okay. I would love to hear, right back to our mental health check-in, I would love to hear how you're doing, because that matters to me. So until next Friday, be well, be safe, and please, whatever you do, please stay home. I love you. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.